Ice Rider has just won the North America International Championship, so let's talk about it a little bit more today, as well as some of the top 8 teams. So, Calyrex Ice Rider. It won on Patrick Connor's team, which has a very interesting six with an interesting trio that people mentioned that is basically like the VGC starter pack, the VGC starter trio. You've got a nice fire, water, grass core, a Rillaboom, Incineroar, Urshifu, just really good stuffs. Terra Normal on the Rillaboom is really good adaptation to handle all of the Calyrex Shadow Riders running around, as well as maybe some of the other ghost types that might want to hit it for neutral damage. Ghost Incineroar, really good. You get the fake out immunity, you get Will-O-Wisp, fake out parting shot, and knock off. A lot of people are not running Flare Blitz anymore, and the reason why is because if you're running Pelipper on the team, then having Flare Blitz makes it really hard for you to get the full damage out. Because imagine you want to bring Incineroar and Pelipper beside each other. Now that Flare Blitz is nerfed, it's not doing that much damage. So having Will-O-Wisp or Taunt or something is better. Like, I personally use Taunt on my Incineroar Pelipper team, which I use. Some people use Will-O-Wisp, some people use other moves. I think Will-O-Wisp is really good because it helps in the mirror, the Calyrex Ice Mirror, because now you're forcing the Calyrex to Terra, you're forcing Amoonguss to Rage Powder away, and since you walk safety goggles, you can't be Rage Powdered, and now if something is following me away, then it's taking a free Will-O-Wisp, so there's that. Grassy terrain really good because you keep Calyrex alive, and you also just have that double fake out core with Incineroar and Rillaboom. And what's really good about this core is you have a lot of really strong physical attackers. Like, you have 4 really strong physical attackers actually, and with Urshifu having the surging strikes, which always crits, and Calyrex having the clear amulet, both of these physical attackers are hard to stop with with Intimidate. So it's really good into opposing Intimidate. And you also have Incineroar for your own Intimidate as well. And Rillaboom can be played more as a support one. So you have a team which is really good into Incineroar, which is obviously like the most popular non-restricted Pokemon. For day 1, it's 43% usage, and day 2, it's 46% usage. So having a good team that's good into Incineroar is going to help you out into a lot of matchups. And then just in general, you have a team that's good into Calyrex's worst matchups. Like, one of Calyrex, like when I used to play Calyrex Ice, I used to struggle against Kyogre, and that's because Terra Water Spout, if it wouldn't just outright KO Calyrex, it would just do an insane amount of damage, and like, even if you set up Trick Room, like, their Pokemon could just hit you once and you die. So having that Wide Guard is really good for Kyogre. I know that most people run Wide Guard for Calyrex Shadow Rider, but honestly, I think it's more important for Kyogre to have Pelipper and Urshifu Rapid Strike. Because now if they want to bring in Kyogre, now they're boosting your Surging Strikes, and now you have Weather Ball, you have Hurricane, and you also have Raging Bolt for Kyogre. Now, why do I say Kyogre is such an important matchup? Well, if you look here, you see 2 Kyogres in top 8, and Kyogre is becoming much more popular in this meta, and I think that's because AV Kyogre is just so busted. Like, you could take something like a Terra Starstorm from Terrapagos, hit back with a Water Spout or an Origin Pulse, and it's just like, it's so hard to deal with Kyogre in this meta. I feel like you need a Wide Guard mon, because this Pokemon's damage in rain is just absolutely ridiculous. Like, Terrapagos has to take a turn to set up, and it has to commit its Terra to be really good, but Kyogre is just really good out at the bat. And you're basically you're setting up weather as well. So like think of it like a better Pelipper. You're setting up weather for yourself. So now you have Rapid Strike Urshifu, and this core does really good into Calyrex. It does really good into Zamazenta Crowned. The only problem it struggles with Miraidon, but if you look really closely in this NAIC top 8, there's only one Miraidon core. It is above the Kyogre teams, so I mean, like obviously if they fought each other, I'm pretty sure like the Miraidon would win. But when you don't have Miraidon, like which is the hardest matchup for Kyogre, look at all the other restricteds that exist, right? Like let's look at this. Like Shadow Rider, Calyrex, Kyogre can beat that. Ice Rider, Kyogre can beat that. Terapagos, Kyogre can beat that. Like, well-played Kyogre can just beat all of these teams. And you naturally resist the Ice Rider's Glacial Lance already. Plus you have an Assault Vest, so you do well into the Shadow Riders. And if that weren't enough already, you have Wo Chen on the field. So even if, like, you Terra Grass or something, now you have Wo Chen. Now you have Will-O-Wisp with Incineroar. Like, there's a lot of stuff to stop opposing Ice Riders. Will-O-Wisp also threatens opposing Koraidon. So, like, let's say they have a well-played Koraidon team, right? You can lead something like Wo-Chen and Incineroar. Maybe Terra the Incineroar, Will-O-Wisp the Koraidon, and force it to Terra. Now that it's Terra'd, like, you can hit everything else for like really effective damage with Water Spout, right? So like a lot of them look to run Terra Fire, and if you run Terra Fire, then that means that now Water Spout can hit you with super effective damage. So you're kind of forcing it. Like you have really good offensive synergy with this Thunder, Water Spout, Ice Beam. Bolt Beam obviously is just a really good combo, and I think it's really good into like just Koraidon in general, and other Pokemon too. It forces the other player to think more, and anything that forces the other player to think more means that strategies like this, like Pokemon like Iron Jugulus, Pokemon like Wo Chen, they're a lot less prepared for, and these Pokemon have their flaws, but they're still good Pokemon. Like, having a fast Snarl is so useful in a metagame where you have, like, opposing Calyrex, Shadow, where you have opposing Kyogre, where you have stuff like Terapagos, because you can just get that fast Snarl off, and now you're forcing the Calyrex to Terra, you're forcing the Terapagos to Calm Mind, and even if you Calm Mind, it'll take a lot of Calm Minds before you're able to tank, like, Water Spouts. And by then, you'll already be hit with Hurricane, you'll be hit with, like, so many Water Spouts, Origin Pulses, so you'll be taking so much damage, and it's just going to be so hard for an opposing special attackers to handle this team. Like, you need a really strong physical attacker, but that's where the Wo Chen comes in, or you need a really strong special attacker, and then the Grimmstar will just give this team the added depth it needs. Basically, like, this entire team is set up to enable this Kyogre to sweep, and like Pollen Puff to heal it up, like Reflect and Light Screen to keep it healthy, Incineroar and Wo Chen to reduce damage reduction for Kyogre. It's just really good. Like, I have a similar team set up, but for my Terapagos, but for Kyogre, it works just so much better, because Kyogre is already, like, once again, off the bat, much more powerful than Calyrex. Next up, I want to talk about Miraidon. Now, Miraidon teams have adapted they're running Chi-Yu now. They used to run Ogerpon Cornerstone Mask, but I think that Chi-Yu is a good adaptation, because a lot of teams used to have Terra Ground Chi-Yu to beat Miraidon, and that's how that would be their Miraidon counter. But then Miraidon teams said, hey, we could do the same thing and have it win us the mirror, right? And now that you have Chi-Yu ground, like, and Ferrograph ground, now you have 2 Pokemon which you can set up and use Discharge beside. 3, actually, if you include Iron Hands. And actually, you know what? All of these Pokemon, now that you can think about it, because even Urshifu, like, if you're in a really bad situation, say, and Urshifu has the Focus Sash, so none of these Pokemon are gonna get O-Code by Discharge, unless Ferrograph and Chi-Yu are not Terra and have low HP or something, right? So that's really good. Light Screen is just really good. I've played against Light Screen, Whimsicott, Miraidon teams, and why Light Screen is really good on this team is because it's good into Terapagos mirrors. And same thing with Iron Hands and Urshifu. And these 3, like, adaptations make the Terapagos Rillaboom matchup, which used to be, like, absolute hell for Miraidon teams, a lot better. Because now, with Light Screen up, You survive Choice Specs Terra Starstorm much better with Miraidon. You can pivot out, and now Iron Hands survives much better. You can hit it with Drain Punch now. Like there's a lot more options basically, and like Encore obviously is really good for locking them into calm mind loops. But like let's say you have a Terapagos and it sets up a Calm Mind, it's going to need at least 2 Calm Minds to offset the effect of that light screen, and by that time you'll already have pivoted in your Urshifu or your Chi-Yu and Miraidon core, and they're doing so little damage to you, and you can just start doing damage to them by spamming like Heat Wave and Electro Drift. And so you can like use Heat Wave, for example, to break their Terra Shell, and then just Electro Drift into them to finish them off. So there's really cool combos you can do into that. This is good into stuff like Calyrex Ice as well, because that Heat Wave forces them to Terra, and Wicked Blow is also just like a pretty much a one-shot into Calyrex Ice if it doesn't Terra, especially with the Helping Hand boost. So like a team that might do well into this is like a well-played Koraidon balance, because then you get the speed boost, and if you have your own Tailwind, you can set up there. But like once again, if you use Koraidon, then you're also boosting their Chi-Yu, so you have to be careful about that. I think this is a very, very well-made team in general, and not only does it boost Miraidon's utility and stuff, it also just has like a really strong offensive core. Like all of these Pokemon have really strong offensive synergy together, in my opinion, so that makes it really good. Now, let's also talk about Calyrex Shadow Rider, which got 3rd here, piloted by Eduardo Cunha. Very, very good player. Just like one of the best players in Europe in general. Was he the world champion, or let's see, Eduardo Cunha Pokemon? Like, okay. Yeah, he's the 2022 world champion. So, obviously, like, really good player, and he constructed a really good balance team here with Spore, Follow Me, Wide Guard, Spiky Shield, Smeargle, Terra Ghost to avoid the Fake Out pressure, obviously. And once again, you see that triple core of Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Incineroar. In this core, they can afford to run Flare Blitz because now you have no Pelipper, right? And what's good with Rapid Start Urshifu is if they do bring Pelipper, or if they do bring Kyogre, now that Kyogre or Pelipper is just boosting up your own Surging Strikes Urshifu. So like if they were to run it into, for example, the AV Kyogre team, then they could just lead Raging Bolt plus Urshifu Rapid Strike and set up a Calm Mind for free, basically. Or put in Rillaboom or something, right? Fake out the Kyogre turn 1, set up a Calm Mind with Raging Bolt, and like, you can do stuff like that, or you have Wide Guard as well on Smeargle. So Wide Guard on Smeargle, like, once again, serves many purposes. I think the number one thing is opposing Kyogre once again, and opposing Calyrex Shadow. So what you do is, you Wide Guard turn 1 or something, and then you Nasty Plot with the Calyrex Shadow. And now, since you're Nasty Plotting with Calyrex Shadow, and you have that Smeargle with the Wide Guard, you force them to do a Ice Beam read or something like that, and if you read them doing that, like a really good player like Eduardo Cunha can set up pins where like you read the Ice Beam and you Spore the Kyogre turn 1, you Astral Barrage the next turn, and now that's like 50% of their HP gone. And then you've got Raging Bolt in the back. What I really like about this team as well is you don't need the Calyrex Shadow to win. Like, I think Raging Bolt, Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Incineroar can even win certain rotations by themselves. Like, I think these 4 can do really well into Terapagos, which is one of the main things that beats Calyrex Shadow. Like, you can fake it out and hit it with close combat, or you can just fake it out and start setting up your own Calm Minds and just pivot around until you get this thing to +3, and now it's just KOing that Terapagos outright and threatening with close combat from Urshifu. So I think this team is a really good balanced team, and I feel like Eduardo probably just piloted it really, really well. Unfortunately, couldn't take it all the way, but I think that I can definitely see how this team matches a player of Eduardo's caliber, basically. Now, last up, we're going to discuss like this this Calyrex Ice team, and then Terrapagos. I want to go a bit more in depth in Terrapagos because I use it right now, but yeah. So transform. So why this is really good is, like, let's say that you have something like a Zamazenta, which is really good into Calyrex Ice, right? Um, Basically, your only counters into Zamazenta are Amoonguss and Ditto. Now, why is Ditto a counter into Zamazenta? Well, the thing is, now you have a faster Choice Scarf body press, and though you're probably not going to be killing the opposing Zamazenta, you copy its boost, right? So since you copy its boost, you're getting like maybe 70%, 80% damage, and then something like Urshifu in the back, or like Iron Hands in the back, which have a Focus Sash or really good bulk, can come in and just take out that Zamazenta team and allow Calyrex to set up and sweep. Amoonguss Calyrex Ice is a classic pair because and with Iron Hands it's really good too, because if you manage to Rage Powder away and then get that Trick Room set up, now you have like Spore under Trick Room, and Spore under Trick Room is just insanely good. This Incineroar runs Taunt instead of Flare Blitz. I personally use Taunt instead of Flare Blitz on my team, but I think this is just to shut down like opposing Trick Rooms, opposing Wide Guards, and like just to like lock in certain Pokemon, right? Because like let's say they switch in stuff like Ursaluna or something, predicting that you're going to protect or something like that. Now you can taunt the Ursaluna, and the Ursaluna can't protect the next turn, and you can hit it with Glacial Lance or something like that, right? For Ursaluna Blood Moon and for Ursaluna Regular, right? This team does pretty well on the Terrapagos because you can once again copy the Terrapagos. Now you get Terra Stellar Starstorm. Does decently well into Shadow Rider once again because you copy Shadow Rider's Terra Starstorm. Like copying, I feel like copying the opposing restricted is really good in a single restricted format. That's why you see Ditto sitting at like, look at this. Like, I mean, day one, not that much, but look at this, 12% in day two. Cause it's just so popular, right? And having that Ghost Terra to resist, to resist Fake Out is just really good. I feel like Ghost is a really good neutral Terra for most of the Pokemon. Because I feel like it's good for Terrapagos, it's good for Zamazenta, it's good for Miraidon. Like, it's a really good neutral Terra, right? And if you copy their Shadow Rider and you Terra Ghost, now you get Terra Ghost Astro Barrage, which is really scary. So I think that team is just really good in general. I feel like this is a harder team to play because you have Ditto, but Justin Burns is a really good player, and I feel like something off meta like this, once again, if you're a good enough player, you can pilot it well. But one last thing to note is the Covert Cloak on Amoonguss. Now, this is just really good because now you can't be faked out, and like if they have something like a Nuzzle or something like that, like that's also really good because you can Rage Powder that away. There's a lot of other moves which have like other effects which you don't really want, so it's good to have that Covert Cloak there to resist those effects, I think, but mainly the Fake Out. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about is the two Terrapagos teams. This Terrapagos team is the one with Screamtail, piloted by Antonio Sanchez. So I think that the Screamtail is really good. Now you have, once again, look at this. This Rillaboom, Urshifu Rapid Strike, and then Incineroar Core. This team has Will-O-Wisp. So Terrapagos teams, I like to... Like, I have Will-O-Wisp on my Terrapagos team, but I have it on a different Pokemon. Will-O-Wisp is really good because you shut down Pokemon like the Koraidon. You shut down Pokemon like the Calyrex Ice Rider. So just having that really good, consistent way to shut down physical attackers is really important, because you want this team to be as physically bulky as possible. Special bulk isn't that much of a problem for Terrapagos, especially if you're running Leftovers, Calm Mind. Leftovers, Calm Mind, plus Grassy Surge, plus Amoonguss. So I use this on my Terrapagos team, and it's really, really good, because what you do is basically you force them to have, like, something to deal with the Terrapagos, and then you can lead, like, Rillaboom, Urshifu, Rapid Strike to counter that, get in Terrapagos, and, basically, that Terra Shell is really good, and because, like, what happens now is, since you have Leftovers and Grassy Surge, you can easily switch into a lot of stuff, like let's say you predict that, they're going to Draining Kiss into your Urshifu, right? So you switch into Terrapagos and you have Rillaboom on the field. Now the Terrapagos, you're you're easily shrugging off with the Terra Shell, and you're healing back up to full. And then you can set up Calm Minds the next turn, right? Or you can just start off with the Terrapagos and Calm Mind. And you can switch into like a lot of stuff, right? So Terrapagos and Screamtail in the back are really good pivots. Like Terrapagos, Screamtail, Amoonguss, and Incineroar, like all, and Rillaboom too. Like all these Pokemon can be pivoted in and played really well defensively. So I think this is a really, really good defensive core. And once again, the main thing to note is that some Terrapagos teams are like all in on supporting the Terrapagos. This team is a lot more offensive, honestly. Like Amoonguss and Screamtail are support, yes, but Urshifu and Rillaboom can do really good consistent damage, and I think that's really important too, because with Terrapagos teams, you want to have like a mode to win without stellar terroring Terrapagos, and I feel like something like Urshifu, Rillaboom, Incineroar, and Screamtail can beat other restricteds by themselves without Terrapagos too. So once again, like having that strong mode without Terrapagos is really good. Last thing to touch upon is the Screamtail. Encore Disable is just really good because you can protect, like you can lead Terrapagos Screamtail, double protect into something like Incineroar and Koraidon, disable the Koraidon's collision course, and now you have free turns to set up with Terrapagos. Once again, like you can disable, or you can even encore like a Trick Room team, right? Disable Spore. There's a lot of stuff you can do with it. With Terra Grass too, there's a lot of stuff. Dazzling Gleam is really good. Having something to hit Koraidon with, some sort of stab, and Fairy type is a really good stab to have. So stab Dazzling Gleam is just really good for like consistent damage. Of course, the Terra Water Surging Strike's really good. Some people like Terra Ghost or Terra Steel. I think Terra Water is the right choice here because you just want as much damage as possible to break open opposing teams for Terrapagos to set up and sweep. Fire, having a good Fire Terra is really good for opposing Chi-Yu, because I feel like Chi-Yu is a really big problem for this team. Once again, that's why the Urshifu Rapid Strike and the Screamtail help, because you have like you can lead Screamtail, disable the Heat Wave or something like that if it's Choice Scarf Chi-Yu. Now you have Rillaboom. So, like, Rapid Strike and Incineroar is really good into Chi-Yu, for example. So that's really interesting as well. And once again, with the Kyogre teams, like you're boosting Urshifu Rapid Strike. So, yeah. Okay. And then, let's talk quickly about this team as well, because I don't want to forget this team. Volcarona. Volcarona is pretty good. This one is not a boosting Volcarona. It's a Terra Water Volcarona with Bug Buzz, Rage Powder, and Will-O-Wisp. It does not have Incineroar, so this Pokemon is kind of doing the Incineroar's job of Will-O-Wisp being opposing Terrapagos. Not opposing Terrapagos, I mean opposing Calyrex and opposing Koraidon, because those teams are really tough for certain dynamics, right? Like, and Landorus with Choice Scarf, I actually joked about this in one of my counters from Miraidon videos, but it's really good because now like you lead Choice Scarf Landorus plus Kyogre into Miraidon, you can Sandsear Storm the Miraidon, and just overall like Miraidon is like the hardest counter to Kyogre, so having like Landorus plus Rillaboom is just really good into stuff like Miraidon. Acid Spray is really good on Overquill because it's a stab move. It doesn't do that much damage. It does 40 damage. But now you set up for Water Spouts. Hydro Pump is really risky on Kyogre, but if you're a good player and you're playing well, like 4 out of 5 times it'll hit. And having a single target Water type move in a meta with Wide Guard is just really consistent and really good option, right? So I think that having Hydro Pump can actually be a good option on certain Kyogre teams. Like, this team is pretty offensive, but it's got, like, it's got the Rain Dance Tornadus, which is really good as well. Because Rain Dance Tornadus, like, even if they set up a weather or they switch in the weather, Rain Dance will always be the last thing to happen, basically. So, like, unless they have a Sunny Day Tornadus on their team or something like that, your Rain Dance will always be going off, and so your Water Spouts and Hydro Pumps will always be doing good damage. And Swift Sim on Overkill is just really, really good. Because now with that crunch, you threaten those Calyrex Shadow Rider teams really, really well in general as well. And Zamazenta does not want to face off against this team. Because Landorus beats Zamazenta, Volcarona beats Zamazenta, and Kyogre also beats Zamazenta. So if we look once again at the NAIC usage stats for restricted Pokemon, like Zamazenta gets beaten by this, Koraidon gets beaten by this. Opposing Kyogre might be an issue, but like you're doing so much damage with Terra Ground Sandsear Storm that like, and you have Rillaboom to beat Kyogre mirrors, that it's pretty good. Like I believe that this Kyogre team can do well into all of these teams, except for maybe Terrapagos. But like you really have to consider like this team is as a really good and very creative team, right? Now, last up, I want to talk about the runner-ups team. The runner-up, Aurelion Sula, is just a very, very consistent player, and their play, and I personally believe that they're one of the smartest players in the league right now. So, Grimmsnarl is a really, really good adaptation for Terrapagos teams. Now, why is it good? Because, once again, with Grimmsnarl, you get the ability to enable Terrapagos to set up. But this team is even better than that, because you have Tri-Attack Terrapagos with Terra Starstorm and Choice Specs. So you're getting so much initial damage off the bat. You have Reflect and Light Screen. Now you're just... So what you can do is, that I've seen Aurelion do before, is you go up with Grimmsnarl, you set up a screen, you break them open with Terrapagos, and then you have Chi-Yu and Fluttermane in the back to clean up. Or you can do the opposite as well. You can have Grimmsnarl and Chi-Yu in the front and have Fluttermane and Terrapagos in the back to clean up. So, like, this team is really good because you have, like, Chi-Yu and Fluttermane and Terrapagos have a really good synergy together. You can lead any of them beside each other to just have really strong offense right off the bat. Chi-Yu threatens a lot of these common Pokemon. I think it's Chi-Yu is rising up in the meta because Amoonguss and Calyrex Ice are so good, and having that Heat Wave or Overheat to just OHKO them and threaten like an OHKO onto those Pokemon is just really good. It threatens Miraidon. Actually, it does threaten Miraidon because now you have Booster Energy Moonblast, which they'll need to, which they can't outspeed you now without a Tailwind. And whatever is coming in might be taking a Terra Fairy Moonblast. So they need to be really careful. And, like, just Terra Fairy Moonblast plus Heat Wave, like, there's not much that can switch into that. In the regulation before G, which I think was F, right? Like, these two were really popular core, and they're just rising up again because they're so good. And Dark Pulse is really good here. Like, having something that flinches is really good. Taunt Urshifu Rapid Strike with safety goggles. I went up against a Taunt Urshifu when I faced James back at the Vancouver Regionals, and it was really, really difficult because if I brought in something like let's say, oh wait, no, he was running a, what am I saying? He was running a substitute. But okay, Taunt is really good because, like, Amoonguss, right? So Amoonguss can definitely shut this team down. Like, with Spore, you can shut down Grimmsnarl and Terrapagos, right? So having Taunt and Safety Goggles means that you can always taunt the Amoonguss. The Amoonguss can't redirect away your Surging Strikes, and now Surging Strikes is just really good into stuff like Calyrex, like both Calyrex forms. It's good into once again the Kyogre teams, which might be threatening. So you can lead stuff like Surging Strikes and Grimmsnarl, right? You can Thunder Wave the Kyogre or put up a Light Screen, use Terra Water Surging Strikes, and take advantage of their rain. So, like, having that, it doesn't have a Fire, Water, Grass core, but having just the Water and the Fire together is just really good. Like, this team hits a lot of really offensive, like, good offensive benchmarks, and Iron Hands is really good, of course, for Fake Out pressure. This team, like, it already had its Fire Dark spot taken up by Chi-Yu, which is why I think that AV Iron Hands fits better. You could run something like, maybe, like, what's it called, Rillaboom, for even better, like, for healing in Terrapagos, but I feel like this isn't the type of Terrapagos team that needs the healing. I think this really acknowledges the fact that when you use Terra Stellar, you're getting rid of that terrain, right? So since you're getting rid of that terrain, like maybe having Rillaboom might not be the best synergy, and having Iron Hands might be better, because now you have your physical core of Urshifu and Iron Hands. So you could even do something like Urshifu, Iron Hands, and then Chi Yu and Fluttermane in the back, and that could be your non-restricted team that you bring into certain matchups. For example, like maybe other Tropicos, or like maybe stuff like Zamazenta Crowned, right? You bring in Chi Yu and Fluttermane for Zamazenta Crowned, and you don't bring Tropicos maybe that time, right? And last thing you mentioned, Terra Grass, really good for having that resistance to ground, so stuff like Landorus, and also really good for resisting like water type moves from Kyogre, and having that immunity of Spore and Rage Powder. So like you'd have like two Pokemon which have that immunity, which is really important because the rest of these Pokemon do not have that immunity to Rage Powder and Spore, and that can really come up inside of the game. So yeah, that's the top 8 overview. Like I think that the big pattern that I'm seeing is having that strong Urshifu, Rillaboom, and Incineroar core, and or like having like that strong Fire, Water, Grass core just in general. Fire, Water, Grass, Fire, Water, Grass, Fire, Water, Grass. Yeah, like literally only one team in this entire top 8 does not have a Fire, Water, Grass core. That's the second place team. So I think that we're going to be seeing a lot more Fire, Water, Grass going forward, a lot more Rillaboom, Urshifu, Incineroar, and just like the main thing in single restricted is having a team that has modes which are good into multiple restricteds without having to bring your restricted yourself. That's the main thing. So having a Pokemon that can rival a restricted, like Raging Bolt, like Urshifu, like Chi Yu, or like Fluttermane, right? That's really important. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and please like, comment, and subscribe if you can, and thank you very much. Goodbye.